Hi, welcome. I'm Jamie Wax, and we're in the CBS This Morning Toyota Green Room with Karamo Brown, one of the stars of the Netflix smash hit Queer Eye. Karamo is out with a revealing new memoir that covers a wide range of topics, including fatherhood, colorism, and his own struggles with addiction and abuse. Welcome, Karamo. Thanks for being here.
Are you kidding me? I'm happy to be here.
You have a lot of fans here at CBS.
Oh, really?
Gayle King was in here just a minute ago.
She was. That was very sweet. I was honored to meet her. Yeah.
You've met some really impressive people in the 3 seasons of Queer Eye, I would imagine.
I have. But I think the stories and the people that I love meeting is what we do on the show, like meeting everyday people, because a lot of times people who are in the entertainment industry, they have their struggles, but they have a lot of support around them to usually get through it. But I just love meeting those everyday people who I can connect with on another level.
You picked a period of time, about 14 years almost, to be an everyday person between your reality show experiences. A lot of people will remember you from 2004's season of The Real World Philadelphia. That was not a great experience for you. You're right about this.
It wasn't that it was not a great experience. It was just that I didn't have the tools to handle something like that. You know, to be on reality television, and especially that type of reality show, you have to be able to know how to manage conflict and be able to express yourself. And so I was a young 22-year-old, so anything that happened to me, I felt triggered and I was screaming. You know, that's why I got the nickname Crazy Karamo back then, because it was like, I'm just gonna say whatever I'm feeling because I don't know how to really process my emotions. And like what I show in my book is how if I can go from that erratic young person to someone who's done the work on themselves to find a space of clarity, of purpose for their life, then anybody else can do it, because I was pretty much a lost cause in many cases.
But even though you described that experience that way, you were an important figure for a lot of young gay people who were watching the show.
Yeah.
Did that give you a taste of how you could have impact when you use television in sort of a helpful way?
I'm going to tell you, not at first. You know, when I went on the show, I was 22. I wanted to see how much booze I can drink in 1 hour. I'm not going to pretend like I went on there like, let me inspire people. But then after I got off the show is when I realized, wow, there was a group of LGBTQ people who had never felt seen, and me being myself gave them a sense of that they could do it, that they could be whoever they wanted to be. And that was pretty powerful. It was also very overwhelming. It was one of the catalysts of me getting heavy into drugs, because it was like all of a sudden you're thrust from going to the grocery store, no one knowing you, to young people calling you and saying, you're my hero, you can't mess up, you can't do this. And I'm like, I'm young, like I still have room to make my mistakes. But now I'm appreciative of it. I'm glad that I was visible. I'm glad that I had this platform, because I'm never going to stop using this platform to try to inspire people to have better lives.
You do write about your addiction, about abuse, things like that. Why have you chosen to be so candid in this memoir?
Well, I don't think it does anyone any favors for me to sugarcoat or hide parts of my life. If I really want to help people to heal, to grow, to have purpose, then I have to show them all the parts of my life. And I'm also an open book. I think honesty and transparency is best, because that way no one can ever be like, well, I remember when you were doing this, you know what I mean? But some of the subjects like, domestic violence, it was really important for me to talk about it, because not only was there a history of it in my family, and I wanted to show people that some of the burdens you sort of take on from your childhood stick with you. You know, my father was abusive to my mother, and I learned not to hit women, but I'm a gay man. And in our culture, we tell young boys, if you have a problem, it's okay to fight. Two boys fighting, it's just guys letting it off or getting through whatever, they're working through their issues. But I'm in a relationship with a man. So when I have anger, you know, I've been sort of conditioned by society that it's okay for me to hit another man. And I want to open up and be honest and say, listen, I was in an abusive relationship where I was the abuser because I saw it, but also because society never gave me the tools of how to handle this. And in the LGBT community, domestic violence is actually more prevalent than in straight couples, but it's something that's never talked about. A lot of that goes to the fact that police aren't trained properly, nurses aren't trained properly, people in social services aren't trained properly to deal with same-sex couples. So they sort of just, wave it off. I remember there was a time I had been abusive to a boyfriend, and I've since apologized to him. We are now friends, but I was really abusive. I mean, it was really bad to the fact that he called the police. And I sat there arrogantly at the front door, waiting for them. Why? Because I knew when they got there, they would see two men, and they would just say, oh, you guys handle it. And that's exactly what they did. And this is the 2000s we're talking about. This is like 2006, you know what I mean? So this is not that long ago. And I still know people today who I've helped through their domestic violence issues who are still having that same response from police officers.
Wow. You're very forthcoming about a lot of things that you've been through, and you own a lot of mistakes you've made. And actually, you talk about, which I find very inspiring in the book, about repurposing mistakes to make them opportunities for growth, for love, for happiness. One of those examples, of course, is your surprise entry into fatherhood. At 26 years old, you got probably the biggest surprise of your life, right?
You know, I appreciate you saying about how I repurpose these challenges, because I always say that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of it. You need it to plant those seeds in you so that you can learn and grow and blossom to who you want to be. And when I found out I was a father, I was young, and there was not one part of me that ever thought I'd be a father. It was the last girl I dated in high school. I was 15. After we had our intimate moment, which only happened once, I immediately was like, I'm okay. I'm done with that. Like, you know, like we can still be friends, but I don't want to do that again. And she moved away, and this is before what we know as technology. So when she moved, I never knew how to contact her again. And to find out years later that I had a child, I had a lot of anger, I had a lot of sadness, I had regret, I had fear. I was like, what, did I ruin a bunch of people's lives? I internalized all of this. I was like, do I have the tools to handle this? How am I going to deal with her as a co-parent? There was all these questions swirling. Can I get my life together enough to raise him? I'm still a child. And what I learned was, when presented with that, it first of all saved my life and gave me a more purpose to realize, you're not just living for you, you're living for somebody else. And I sort of take that same message to what my career is. But it also helped me to realize that if I really am honest about what I'm doing, honest about what I'm feeling, talking about it, asking for help, then I can tackle and handle any situation. And now my kids, because I adopted my other son, they have the same mother. My kids are happy, healthy, 18 and 22. And I talk about how I figured out how I could be better in my book, and I hope other people will learn that as well.
What is the biggest thing fatherhood has taught you?
That you really got to know how to communicate.
You have two boys. So
two boys.
You not only got custody of your son, but you adopted his half-brother.
Yes, you got to know how to communicate, and also about being an empathetic listener. You know, I already knew that, but you got to be able to, like, as parents, you want to come in and you want to solve a problem immediately. You know best. You know, daddy knows best, mommy knows best, but sometimes children know what's best for their life, and you have to respect the fact that they're young people with brains that are working, and you have to give them an opportunity in your guidance to express what their desires are. And I'm not talking about like, I want this or want that, but like, if there's a choice that they would like to make for their life, you have to give them an opportunity to speak up for themselves instead of stifling their voice, stifling their dreams. And that's something that I had to learn along the way, that I don't always have to solve their problems. I can just be there to listen and help guide and give them the tools so they can solve their own.
Your own life and your own vision for your life as a young man, really, a lot of stuff has come true. You had an Instagram post recently where you showed a vision board that you put together. And it's amazing. It's like ticking off these things, including writing a book.
Yes.
All of these things.
Underneath writing a book says New York Times bestseller. So please, I'm not going to lie, help everyone, help my dream come true. And I say that like, not in an arrogant or like, you know, like egotistical way, or I'm just really like, this is my dream, and I put my dream out there for people to see. And a lot of times it's hard to say to people, this is my dream and this is what I want, and please help me along my journey. And I'm going to be honest that I wrote this book to help people, to heal people, to give them some support by sharing my own intimate, you know, stories from my life. But I also wrote it because this has been a dream of mine since day one. And, you know, now that this is out, I'm just hoping people will really go out and buy it and get it.
this period we discussed between 12, 13 years between your reality shows, you say here that you were working on yourself. How important was it to sort of step back from this sudden spotlight?
Every single person should step back and work on themselves daily, not just at the point where it's, you know, once a year or when something tragic happens. Every single one of us has felt some moment today where we're like, I'm doing the same mundane job. I didn't really talk to my wife or my husband before I left about something. I'm not facing some fear I'm having. There could be something with my health I'm ignoring. Every single person needs to take a moment out of their day and check in with themselves and put themselves first. I take that whole adage that we have on airplanes. Put your mask on first before you put it on anyone else. And I think a lot of times as we go through our days, we think we're putting our mask on first, but we're not. We're still running around trying to make our jobs happen, do this, do that, and it's for everyone else but us.
You know, when you made that return in Queer Eye, in the reboot of Queer Eye, and it got so much attention, you weren't that happy with how you came off, or what the sort of the narrow sort of channel they were putting you into as far as the culture expert on the show when you saw season 1. Is that right?
Yeah, that is. I've only seen season 1 one time. I couldn't watch it past that because I felt embarrassed. I remember watching it with my kids, and I was thinking, this is a great show, but I remember my kids being like, this is what you just spent the past couple months doing, putting together photo albums, you know, and it really hurt my heart. It was like, oh my gosh. And I'm thinking like, no, I went there and I really did help people emotionally grow and have, you know, real heartfelt conversations. But because culture originally in the show was the guy gave out tickets because he was a Broadway star.
And it was the nightclub to go to.
Yeah, it was a nightclub to go to. I was like, I didn't come in with that purpose. I came in literally to help people have the hard conversation with themselves and with other people, to focus on their emotional health and their mental health. But because it was a visual show, it was like, well, we have to see some visual component. And so the visual component then ended up making it versus the long conversations. And you see glimpses of it. And it wasn't anything that the network was, I want to be clear about that. No one at the network or no one of the executive producers weren't saying, this is what you have to do. I felt the pressure because of what the expectation was from what the last show was. And I realized once I had a transparent conversation with them saying, hey, I'm on here because I just want to fix the inside. They were like, why didn't you say that from day one? Like, we can cut out all the other stuff. Like, you don't need to be making albums. And I was like, oh, thanks. They're like, we never thought you could build a website. You said you'll just do it because you want, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was a big lesson to me of like, opening up and communicating what I wanted and what I desired and what I was going after. I was sabotaging it. Nobody else was. And then once I communicated about it, it's like it started to change, and you saw that shift in season 2, and season 3 is coming out, and you completely see a shift. No. There is none of that anymore, you know what I mean? And I'm just so happy because now there's a clear focus on mental health instead of this subconscious thing that people are picking up on. People know I'm there to help people's mental health and emotional health.
Your connection with people that you all make over internally, externally.
We actually don't make over, we do make betters.
Make betters, that's right.
Yeah.
But your connections with them have led to some of the most emotional moments of the series.
Thank you.
Can we expect a lot more of that in season 3?
100%. Like, if you thought you cried every time I came on screen before, trust and believe there's a lot of tears, and I'm proud of that. Because the thing is, a lot of times people don't have the cathartic moments. You know, as a society, we tell men, hold your emotions in. I remember there was this time I was playing football, and I had just hurt myself. I mean, I was in so much pain, and my coach was screaming, Brown, shake it off, run it off. And I'm like, I am basically bleeding. Like, my leg is like twisted the wrong way. And I remember on the track, there was a young woman that was running, doing hurdles, and she tripped and she scratched her knee. And everybody went around her and was like, oh my gosh, can we help you? And I was like, you like, let me feel as well. And I think a lot of times we tell men not to feel, we tell women in corporate America, in the world, if you feel, then all of a sudden it makes you not a boss, you know, you're not as strong. And I'm like, enough of that. So the fact that I can have these moments with people on camera where I'm like, no, you get to feel, and you don't have to apologize for it. And you get to use that emotion to grow and to heal. that's what this is all about. And that's why I wrote the book, because it's a continuation of what I'm already doing on Queer Eye.
Well, we're looking forward to that. Season 3 premieres March 15th.
March 15th, yes.
That's exciting. And the book is out now, Karamo, My Story of Embracing Purpose, Healing, and Hope. Karamo Brown, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, man.
And thanks to all of you.